Hello and welcome everyone to another episode of Riz Talks. I'm your host Riz, and I'm glad to have you here as we talk about our world today and what it means for humanity. Our motto is Think Again, about our views in the light of facts, statistics, and true history. There are more sides to every story. Think again, challenge the way you see the world and yourselves. Do the things we hold to be true even matter in the grand scheme of humanity? Today's episode is titled The Chinese Conundrum. Is it a nation who aspires peace and economic growth for betterment of humanity or not? People in the West keep claiming that China is a threat to the world. Maybe it is a force for a reimagined global order. We'll divide our discussion into three segments. First is historical perspective, second is present day, and third is the future predictions. Okay, let's start with the historical perspective. China has over 5,000 years of history. This is a rounded figure based on legendary origins like the Yellow Emperor. The modern nation state or Republic of China was founded in 1912. People's Republic of China, PRC, was founded in 1949 after the Chinese Civil War. In the 19th and 20th centuries, China experienced what's often termed as the century of humiliation. Foreign powers, unequal treaties, territorial concessions. This historical memory still influences China's foreign policy today. There were two opium wars fought between China and Great Britain, with France joining the second one. The first Opium War was from 1839 to 1842 and was primarily due to trade imbalance. Britain had a huge demand for Chinese tea, silk, and porcelain, etc., but China had little interest in British goods. To balance trade, the British East India Company began illegally smuggling opium from India into China, leading to widespread addiction and a massive silver outflow from China. The Second Opium War, 1856-1860, was a continuation of the first as Chinese resisted the full implementation of the first treaty and refusing to legalize opium or allow foreign diplomats into the capital, Beijing. The taking over of Chinese Hong Kong is just one example of how they were humiliated. Fast forward to the 1980s. After the reform era under Deng Xiaoping, China embraced rapid economic growth. I have witnessed the changes myself since the early 90s when there were a handful of cars in Beijing. One figure shows China's share of global GDP rose significantly, approaching almost 20% of global GDP. As the multinationals benefited from cheap labor amassing billions for themselves and their shareholders. Was China a threat then? No. The world was enjoying lower prices for all kinds of goods, from t-shirts to electronics. The leading brands were bringing in blueprints, building factories, and training the locals. China was simply catching up. Remember, it was one of the two richest economies in the world before the Industrial Revolution just over 2 centuries ago. However, rapid growth has unsettled the West, for they have demonstrated abilities in technology efficiencies and adopting long-term infrastructure growth policies, unlike the short-term thinking from election to election by the politicians elsewhere. China's rise challenged the unipolar order, dominated by the US after the end of the Cold War in the 1990s. The concept of a multipolar world began to gain traction. According to one source, China defines multipolarity as equality among all countries regardless of size, which is very polite but also strategic. Coming to present day, is China actively a threat or is the word too strong, too simplistic? Let's look at facts and figures. China's economy remains massive. It has been the world's manufacturing powerhouse and a central node in global supply chains for decades. It is both the factory and supermarket to the world, all kinds of goods. Again, while millionaires and multinationals grew rich and played the stock markets, they were happy. The post-developed countries did not invest in their country's infrastructure or people. But in China, the work to build cities and infrastructure was at at an astonishing pace, pulling over 500 million people out of poverty. That's nearly the population of EU and United States combined. This has never done in history, ever. This and the technological advancements such as 5G, drones, robotics, and now artificial intelligence has alarmed the world. China had a reputation of cheap imitations. China's military rise and assertiveness reflects its new stature. But the defense budget is not even a quarter of the United States defense budget. US spends more than the combined budgets of the next top 10 countries. China's population is significantly larger than the US population, with roughly 1.4 billion people compared to the US's 342 million. Less than a quarter of the Chinese population. China has been promoting the idea of a multipolar world, not just as theory, but via initiatives like the New Silk Road, or what is called the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, one of the largest infrastructure and investment projects in history, covering more than 68 countries, including 65% of the world's population. Then the Global Civilization Initiative, GCI, of 2023, whereby promoting respect for the diversity of civilizations, shared values, cultural exchange, and innovation. So, in the present, yes, China has capability, ambition, and influence, but threat depends on who we talk to and what they mean. Threat to existing order? Possibly. Future prediction. What lies ahead? Could be either scenario A, the peaceful multipolar rise. China, along with partners in the global south, helps build a more equitable global order. Infrastructure, trade, tech partnerships lead to economic uplift worldwide. The multipolar world becomes a platform for cooperative growth. There is evidence China's stated vision for a multipolar world emphasizes equal rights and opportunities among all nations. Then there's the scenario B. The strategic competition intensifies. China's rise triggers stronger pushback from other powers. Supply chain decoupling, alliance formations, economic coercion become more common. Some countries feel locked into China's orbit, others swing away. The growing BRICS nation becomes a leading global economic force. The scenario C is a mad one. Mutually assured destruction, MAD. If the drums of war keep playing, we be ending up there. So, is China a threat in the future? It depends. Threat to whom? Threat of what? If the system remains zero sum, then yes, competition will feel threatening. But if the system becomes positive sum, there's potential for betterment of humanity. Visitors in China see a modern China with extensive countrywide improvements in each decade, improving the living conditions for the people while investing in the future. Excellent transportation, communication, and energy sector growth, adoption of electric vehicles, 5G countrywide, with 6G expected soon. You don't see any homelessness, a universal basic health insurance system, little crime, and unbelievable environmental programs. Over 85% population approve of the government, and it is a hybrid democracy because there is democracy at lower levels. The education and research facilities there now are comparable with anywhere else in the world. Hopefully, in 2035, 10 years from now, we will look back and say, remember when we worried China would rise and dominate? Turns out we all ended up collaborating on clean energy, space mining, and global climate resilience, and China was in the middle of it. Modern China seems on the path to peaceful development and firmly upholds the purposes and principles of the United Nations Charter. It has never threatened other countries and has committed to developing friendly cooperation with all countries. China has never started any war or colonized any country in the past. China's development has been peaceful and cooperative, demonstrating building a community with a shared future. China's policies, such as the BRI, is an ambitious plan to develop new trade routes connecting China with the West. China built the Great Wall to keep people out, not to invade other countries. It is not patrolling in other continents, even though they have the biggest navy. Rather asking others to respect their borders and provoking dissent as in the past. They are a part of and contributing to all global organizations, including United Nations, World Trade Organization, International Monetary Fund, World Bank, International Atomic Energy Agency, Interpol, and the list goes on. This is a new century, and the global south, particularly BRICS plus nations, do not see the world as the Western world. The age of imperialism is well gone, and arrogance will only lead to failure. In conclusion, historically, China's rise emerged from a backdrop of subjugation, led to rapid growth and upset the current unipolar world order. Currently, China wields massive economic and political influence. Its vision of a multipolar world is gaining traction. It also poses complex challenges to existing powers. Looking ahead, multiple futures are possible, one of cooperation and uplift, another of competition and fragmentation, and yet another of confrontation. Here's the rhetorical question. If China's rise is inevitable, which it seems to be, are we preparing for the scenario where it's a partner for humanity or one where it becomes a locus of contestation? Is China a panda or a dragon? Because how we respond now will shape whether this moment becomes a threat or an opportunity. The lessons from humiliating Germany after the First World War, leading to the devastation of the Second World War, should not be forgotten. Thank you for joining this episode of Risk Talks. Are we living in a way that will leave this world better than we found it? It's now time to act. So please share the message with others, think again, challenge ideas, join the conversation, and subscribe. This is Risk Talks. Be curious, be kind, and come back for more.